Alright, there are conflicting reports all over the internet about the Leonard Lake, Ng and Claralyn Balazs crime network. All the documentaries are filled with inconsistencies and establishment lies. So as usual, you have to piece all the different reports together, much of which has been deliberately obscured, so it's not so easy to see the CIA's involvement with the whole affair and their subsequent hero routine as they bring their minions to justice. Lake was born in 1945 in California. As a youngster, Leonard's mother was promiscuous and possibly abused Leonard. He went on to take nude photographs of his kid sisters and dissolved mice in acid. At 19 years old, Leonard joined the Marine Corps and served for 6 years between the years 1965 and 1971. He served during the Vietnam War as a radar operator in Vietnam. During his first tour, he was hospitalized for exhibiting incipient psychotic reactions, but was returned to duty after a short time. In 1971, he was given a medical discharge, having been diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder. I think it's interesting to note that he exhibited psychotic reactions, was the quote from the military, as though he was being tested or involved in a program. Anyway, after he got out of the Marines, Leonard Lake joined a hippie commune, which was probably another CIA front for drugs, mind control, and pornography, because Leonard got into the whole bondage porn films there, which he went on to create, star in, and distribute, I guess. Any other information of Lake in the 1970s would be helpful, but all I know at this point is that after his time spent at the hippie/bondage community, he was imprisoned at the end of the 70s sometime for grand theft, but the details are unclear. Alright, some accounts Leonard Lake met his murder partner named Claralyn Balazs in 1977. In other accounts, he met her in 1980 at a fair. Anyway, it seems in 1981, Leonard married Claralyn, and they moved into her convenient lair, which was a large ranch located on 2.5 acres of land in a remote area of woods in California. The place is said in many reports to be owned by the Balazs family. At this time of their marriage, Claralyn was around 30 years old and Leonard Lake was 36. Claralyn was a teacher's aide, and if Leonard had a job, it was unknown. yet they still made a couple bondage films together. And at some point, Lake began building a concrete block bunker on the property with hidden cells for mind-controlled prisoners. Around this time, he met his other partner, Charles Ng. One account says they met through a mutual friend, while another source says Charles Ng responded to a personal ad Leonard Lake advertised in a Soldier of Fortune magazine. Let's talk about Charles Ng for a while. Charles' parents were wealthy, it seems, because they first sent him to boarding school in England and then in California. His dad was a businessman from Hong Kong and China. Again, we have a conflict of reports. One report says Charles Ng ran over a kid with a car, and then with the help of a Marine Corps recruiter, he submitted false documents stating that he was a U.S. citizen, and he got into the Marines that way. Other accounts said that he did it on his own. While in the Marines, he decided to steal automatic weapons from the Marine Corps, but was caught. Although facing 14 years, Charles Ng managed to, quote, walk away and escape to quickly find Leonard Lake through a mutual friend in some accounts, and in other accounts through a personal ad, but most likely they found each other through the program, which they were both a part of. Around 1981 sometime, Charles Ng went to live with Leonard Lake and Claralyn at their ranch, and he did odd jobs, possibly assisting Leonard Lake and Claralyn with their creation of their bunker prison cells. In 1982, federal agents, acting on an anonymous tip, arrested Ng for the previous charges of stealing weapons from the military, and then they arrested Lake on stolen weapons charges. It's unclear so far where they arrested the two. However, it's most likely they were arrested at that ranch where both lived, spent a lot of time at, and probably kept their stash of stolen weapons. However, the CIA obscures the following events by stating, after his arrest on stolen weapons charges, Lake is bailed out by Claralyn, but then skips court and goes into hiding. The official story is that the whole CIA, FBI, and local police would never think to look for Lake there, at that ranch, at his residence. So basically they just ignored him, even though he skipped out on court. So after this weapons charges arrest, Claralyn is set to divorce Leonard, even though Lake is still free to stay at her family's ranch there, construct torture prison facilities in the front yard, keep the electrical bill in Claralyn, his ex-wife's name, and she hangs out with Leonard Lake's mom all the time. So the real reason for this so-called divorce is that she is such a talented cleanup girl, the Vatican CIA would hate to lose her, and they wanted them to be distanced because they knew that sooner or later he was going to go down for all these crimes that he was committing in the middle of these mind control operations concerning manipulating, torturing, and killing and eating mind control victims and plants throughout this community. Claralyn likes to mop up all the bloody body parts. She likes to transfer snuff tapes. She will plant evidence framing the minions, which is Leonard Lake and Ng, and she could handle the local cops so well, she could be used by the Vatican agency on more baby burning jobs. So her handler probably told her, divorce Leonard to distance yourself away from him because he's an idiot and sooner or later he's going to take the blame for the whole cult as usual. So check out her expanding jawbone. Her simian-like features are developing nicely, and she's never seen or hardly seen without her shades. Very Top Gun. Charles Ng does 18 months in Leavenworth prison on the 14 years he owed for attempting to steal automatic weapons from the U.S. Marine Corps. So they let him out in 18 months. And basically he's released with the equivalent to an 11-gun salute and a secret wink and a special message from the director of the CIA who says, "Hey Charlie, we never saw that underground prison cell you and Leonard are building in your front yard, so have fun with that and whoever you plan on putting in there. And if you run out of ideas, check out all your neighbors' houses. Some cute little plants have been installed in your area." So I'm being sarcastic, of course, but the neighbor were a couple that rented a house. Their house's property was connecting to Leonard Lake's property there, unfortunately. And they didn't own that house, they were renting it. And so at one point, Leonard kills the man, then abducts the woman and their young child. They end up getting murdered or sold. And then the owner of the house, when questioned by the police, says that they just packed up and left, or they just left without paying any rent. And in one report, the police went over there. They saw like everything left there, like a basket of clothes that the lady had been folding, some food on the table that had started to rot. And according to the so-called owner of the house, you know, they're just not going to pay rent, and he's not going to show up there and see what's going on, why they're not paying rent. Just that house is going to stay vacant, and you know, the rotting food on the table there is just kind of normal. So if you can't read between the lines on that one, that whole area was controlled by the CIA, and they bring in plants or people that are involved with the program. They're naive to it though, and they're put into the situation where they could be manipulated or controlled by people like Leonard Lake, Claralyn, and Charles Ng. And they kind of sit back and watch the show there. And the whole thing is most likely videotaped on that compound.